Hello everyone, my name is Mrs. Smith and welcome back to our RE community learning. This is session 3 of our 10 lesson journey that we're going on. If you haven't already completed session 1 and 2, then please do go back and complete them before we do today's lesson. Now today we are continuing to explore the theme of community and how different religions, different worldviews allow people to respond to being and belonging in community, and how different religious groups maybe show that they belong to a community. So that's what we're going to carry on with today. Now I wonder, have a think back to our session 2 when we were thinking about times when it felt good to belong to a group or a situation. We explored that story of Amy, Darren and Aisha, and I hope you've taken from the wise advice from those sacred texts that we looked at. Now I've just got my helping hand, I've cut it out like I said I would do, and I just wanted to remind you, what did you put as your reflection that you wanted to take away from the last lesson? I've written here, don't leave anyone out, make them feel included. And I took that from the wise advice and the learning that I took from the story of Amy, Darren and Aisha. And I wonder, have you had a chance to talk to the adults in your home about maybe those different community groups that you belong to from your community circle and what you value? Now, between the sessions, I've been having a think about things that I value and we value in the communities that I belong to. And this is something that I bring into my community. I don't know whether you can see that. I've got the word joy here. And this is something that sits, and I think it's meant to be for Christmas time, but it just sits in my home, usually actually behind me here. And it's a reminder of what the value that I bring to my communities that I try to be part of. Joy is a brilliant value to hold. So I just thought I'd share that with you. I wonder what values you bring to the communities that you belong to. Now, today we're going to be continuing that learning, as I said, and we're in particular going to be thinking about symbols and things that actually communities show by the symbols that they hold. So I'm just going to share the screen with you. Here are the items that we are going to be needing. So symbols of community that we're looking at. And in today's session, again, we just need 3 pieces of paper. Doesn't matter if it's lined or plain. At least 1 pen, pencil, and get some colouring pencils or pens if you can. And if you can, make sure you've got your helping hand, because we're going to be using that to continue our reflection. So pause the video here and make sure you've got all those items. Brilliant. Right, to start us off with today, we're going to play a game of the odd one out, which I know sounds a bit strange, but it's going to be a really good exploration and get us into the mode of looking at symbols. So I'm going to show you 3 objects. Let me take you off screen share. I'm going to show you 3 pictures of 3 objects. Here they are. I've got a school jumper. Some of you, if you belong to Bishop Audham's, will recognise that jumper. It is our Bishop Audham school jumper. I've got here a Sikh kirpan. I'll talk you through that in a minute. And I've got a Christian cross on a chain. Now, a school jumper shows what school someone belongs to. You might not have your school jumper on at the moment, but that, when you go to school, reminds you, this is the school I belong to. Now, lots of Sikh people wear a dagger called a kirpan, and this shows that they are part of the Sikh religion. And lots of Christians wear a cross, not necessarily always on a chain, but maybe have the symbol of the cross on some of the things that they own to show that they are a Christian. So we're going to have a go at drawing these 3 items now. So to do that, I want you to take one of your pieces of paper and either with a pencil, draw a line down, 2 lines down to make 3 sections, or if you want to fold it up to make it into 3 sections like this. Doesn't have to be neat, but if you want to just divide it up like that, then you can. I want you to have a go in each of the sections at drawing each of the items. Let me share them with you on the screen just so you know what the items look like. So here we go. So each of the different objects there, have a go pausing the video here and drawing those 3 objects. Fantastic, your drawings are looking great, I'm sure. Now I wonder, have any of you seen these all before? What do you know about any of them? Why might we be looking at them as part of our RE Communities learning? How are they similar? How are they different? Have a think. Now, it's important to understand that all these objects are symbols belonging to a specific community group. So why don't you jot down now what you think about each object underneath each of your drawings, particularly thinking about what makes them similar and what makes them different. Pause the video here to do that. Great, fantastic. Now I want you to choose one which you think is the odd one out and say why. Here are a couple of sentence starters on the screen to help you with that. Here we go. So I think the choose your object is the odd one out because, and then write an explanation. It's really important in our RE learning that we actually give some reasoning to it. That's why we like playing games like odd one out, because you practice giving reasons for why you think and feel certain things. So choose your object. I think the object, and then it's the odd one out because, and then write your reason. Pause the video here to have a go. Now, I wonder if you've chosen the same object as someone else who's taken part in this learning today. Maybe you have. Here are some of the choices and thoughts that some other children have had. Let's have a look and see what they think. So we've got here, the jumper is the odd one out because only pupils can belong to this group, as in only school pupils can belong to this group. You can be a Sikh or a Christian, whether you're a grown-up or a child. Good point. The jumper is the odd one out because it's the only one that's actual clothing. Valid point. What we got here, the kirpan is the odd one out because it's the only one that can be dangerous. Good, valid point. I've got here at the top again, the kirpan is the odd one out because, let me have a look, sorry, my screen's in the way. It's the odd one out because it's the only one people don't have at school. Again, very valid point. We've got one here at the bottom which says about the cross. The cross is the odd one out because you wear it round your neck. The others go on your body. So really interesting choices there. Now, is there a right answer or is there not? Why? Why not? Now, I wonder, what have you learnt about this? Because actually in RE, there's not always the same answer. And there is no right or wrong answer to this little odd one out little activity we've done today. But I do want to ask you this. If all 3 items were in one group, what would that group be called? Have a think. What would you call that group if they were grouped together? Now, one class that I've taught before has suggested that all the items could go into one group, which showed that they belonged to a special group or community. Let me show you on the screen here. Let me show you here. It shows that they belong to a special group or community. Now, what do you think? Do you agree or do you disagree with that statement? What other symbols can you think of that would fit into that one single group? So the title is, that people that I've taught before have said, is all the symbols belong to a special group or community. Have a go, pause the video here and see if you can add some more things into that group. So symbols that belong to a special group or a community. Have a go. Fantastic. I'm sure you've managed to come up with some other symbols of maybe from different religious groups, or maybe from just some general special community groups that you know would fit into that group. Thank you for sharing. Now, we're going to be thinking about creating your own symbol now. Going to get a bit creative. I want you to choose or create an object which shows a special community that you belong to. I want you to draw it out on another piece of paper, and underneath it, I wonder whether you can write why belonging to that group or that community is important to you. Here's an example from my life. Now, I went to try and find it in the wardrobe, but it seems to have disappeared. But I've got a very special t-shirt that I wear, and it shows that I belong to a choir called Rock Choir. And we all have the same logo on our t-shirt that we have to wear when we perform. And it gives us so much pride and importance when we all stand there together wearing our Rock Choir t-shirt. It really makes me feel, it really makes me feel like I belong to that group. So I wonder, is there something for you that you could draw that reminds you that you belong to a community group? But why is that particular object or item special to you? Pause the video here and have a go at drawing that item and writing why. Fantastic. These objects and reasons for why they are so important and so special and so significant to you are brilliant. So thank you for writing those. You should definitely keep hold of all of these drawings, as it helps create a picture of who you are and what your community means to you. Now, did you know that lots of religious groups welcome new people into their community in special ways? Just like the wise advice from the ancient texts that we looked at in the last session suggests they should do. There are also symbols which show that a person is being welcomed. Take, for example, a baby. I'm going to just share with you now my screen again, and some of you might have seen it earlier because my screen skipped ahead. Here we go. Now, for Christians, they welcome new babies into their family with a special service called an infant baptism, or dedication, or christening service. Here are some of the objects and symbols that are part of that service. This is a really special time for the parents, family, and close friends. They agreed to help the baby grow up knowing God and supporting them with their Christian faith. Sometimes Christian parents choose a name for their baby that has a significant Christian meaning even. Many non-religious groups, non-religious people often have baby welcoming ceremony celebrations as well. Some may have a naming ceremony. I wonder, see if you can speak to the adults in your home today about a way that maybe they welcomed you into their family, into your family. Was there a special symbol used for welcoming you? Do you still have that in your house? Whether it be a special card or a special teddy bear or something that really was significant to show that you were being welcomed into the family. Now, we're going to really think now about that word community. I'm just going to stop sharing just for a second. Now, did you know the word community derives from the old French communauté, currently communate, which comes from the Latin communitas, which means community or public spirit. Bit of Latin for you there today. What I like about the word community is it actually includes another word within it. I wonder if you can work out what that is, and if you need to write down the word community, then go for it. Can you spot another word that's within the word community? It actually has the word unity, which is one of our schools at Bishop Auden's, one of our school values, and we celebrate it and use unity a lot in our school. And you probably use it a lot in your schools too, under teamwork and working together, because that's what that word, that part of the word community, the word unity means to come together. When people live in unity, it means that they are joined and they are united. Think about some football teams that we might know. They've got united at the end. That means that they come together, they work as a team. pretty special. People living in community have the opportunity to gain lots, but as well give lots. So that's important to think about that. So they gain lots from being part of a community, and we've already explored that over our last few sessions, but they also give lots to that community. So I want you really quickly now to think about the communities that belong in that you have in your area. So I'm just going to share a slide with you again. Here we go. So what I'd like you to do now is I want you to think about the communities that people in your area might belong to. For example, schools, maybe a sports team, maybe religious groups, maybe uniform groups like Cubs or Brownies. And I wonder if you can think about the different groups, think about maybe the different buildings that they meet in or areas that they meet in. Do you know of any people in your family or in your little friendship circles that might belong to voluntary groups? What celebrations where a community group might come together are you aware of? I want you to take some time now and take a piece of paper and list all the community groups that you can think of. Have a go, pause the video now and write them down. Brilliant. That's looking like a great list. And I'm sure you have lots of thoughts about lots of different communities and groups that take place in the area that you live in. Now I want you to focus on one of the community groups. Okay, so think about one of them. Let me just share the next slide. So thinking about one of those community groups and what you feel you belong to, I want you to think about the things that you gain from being part of that community group and the things that you give to that community group. So think about it this way. You might be able to gain new skills from being part of, say, a football team, and maybe you gain some friends, but you are also able to give friendship, and you might be able to give kindness. Okay, so it's not just maybe practical things, but it's also those feelings and emotions that we shared right at the start in session 1 of what makes us. So pause the video here. Think about one community group that you are a part of, or maybe one, if you don't feel that you are part of a community group, just think of one in your area. Write down 3 things that you gain from being part of a community, and write down 3 things that you have to give to be part of that community. Pause the video here and give it a go. Now, I wonder, can you be part of a community and only give? Or can you be part of a community and only get, so only receive? Underneath your list of giving and gaining, I want you to record a sentence to answer that question. So, can you be part of a community and only give? Or can you be part of a community and only get? Write down what you think. And remember, there's no right or wrong answer here. It's getting you to think about this whole idea of community and that idea of giving and getting. Pause the video here to write your sentence. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Do you know what? I don't think you can be part of a community and only get. I don't think you can be part of a community and only give. I think that there has to be a good balance of both. And I'm sure some of you have managed to think about that in your answers. Now, as we come to finish our lesson, I want you to look back at the symbols of belonging that for you in the communities that you belong. So things like my Rock Choir t-shirt. Look at the drawings that you wrote for your symbol of belonging in your communities. And think back to all the different symbols that I shared with you at the start, the jumper, the kirpan and the Christian symbol, and maybe your list of all the symbols that you added to that special community, the symbol of special meaning for that community. I want you to take your helping hand and I want you to think about, what have I learned today that actually will help me with my community learning? Now, I'm going to think about actually having a symbol of meaning. I'm actually going to think about the importance of a symbol. So I'm just going to write here, symbols demonstrate unity. I'm going to remember that word unity. All belonging to one group. So that's what I've written on my hand. Pause the video here to write something on one of the fingers or the thumb that you want to remember from your learning about symbols of belonging. Fantastic. Right, we've come to the end of our session now. Thank you for reflecting. Thank you for thinking really carefully there about all these different symbols that we've shared today. Now, in our next session, we're going to be really focusing in on one religion. We're going to be focusing in on Sikhism and how they work and live and belong in community through their faith. So thank you for taking part in this, and I shall see you in our next session. Bye.